exciting times. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Sorry, everybody, if you can hear me. Aha! At last, I can work out what to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you hear me. I hope you see me. I hope this is all happening. It's very confusing, you know, because I'm not very good at this live streaming stuff yet. This is a start. This is a start. You can see I've got my Bubblegum Killer t-shirt on here. Yes, I do indeed. And I see there's some people already here. Woohoo! Is Johnny hosting spaces? Oh my God, maybe I will be. Hello, everybody. I'm glad that some people could join me. I'm not sure how many people are here at the moment. Like I say, this whole thing of streaming live is something I've started doing in 2024. And it's been going quite well, I'd say. I increased the viewership quite rapidly this week. Let me take this off. Let you see my hair. Nice to have you with me. I'm really excited. Who's with us? Southsword. Hey, Johnny, heard you speak on the space the other day. You're a good one. Keep it up. It's been wild. We'll talk about that now. Is Johnny hosting spaces? I will be eventually, obviously. I seem to be quite good at it because everybody in these spaces seem to be very afraid. Yo, Ellen, helping me out all of the time and being really kind. And you can see my green screen is a bit funky in the background. I haven't quite got everything right yet. You know, what can you do? I'm a one-man band. I'm always the same. And I am Michael Wicke, Pittsburgh dude, 87. Oh, you're a young one, aren't you? What? You're only 35. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Just the man I wanted to hear about Epstein. Thank you. I'm glad people are realizing that there's some good places to come to talk about this sort of stuff. And there's Doug as well. Doug, thank you. I'm really happy. Cancel Conspiracy. Been great to follow along with you. I love you all. I thank you for coming. Listen, let's start on because we you know, there's a lot to talk about. Like I say, things change, don't they? Things change. The end of last year, I was just managing to break, like, in a week on the most popular video, maybe 1,000 watches, and that's mainly because Nicole Youngman's pretty hot, so she attracts people in anyway, with her face on the cover. But everybody who knows me knows I've been struggling to gain attention. I've been censored for donkeys. It's been really, really difficult to get any like air at all for the past 4 years, and it's gone from 1,500 views to being involved in centrally involved to something that had 6 million views and then 3 million views and then another 2.7 million views or whatever. So obviously now that it's gone instantly from being to a very small select audience of yourselves to a massive audience of a load of people who, some of them haven't got a clue what's going on. You guys obviously follow along with these things. Let me catch up. Actually, it's in Crosby, actually younger. Yeah, just checking the comments here and there, make sure I keep on them. I can hear my dog going crazy in the next room, so you know, maybe I should go and check what's going on. But let's stick with this. So, hey Babu, come here. So it's been a bit of a crazy one, yeah. We've had a bit of a crazy time. As we know, the Epstein Files started, which I didn't really know about. I knew the Epstein Files were coming out, of course, and they were dripping it out. And I had no idea what the Epstein Files meant and all of this. And so I was really oblivious, you know, just not thinking about it. But I do, all my work is Epstein all the time. So anytime some more Epstein news comes out, I hear about it anyway. So I guessed that this was going to be going through the court documents. And as you all saw, if anybody who's watched the Epstein Files will have heard them going through court documents. Everybody was saying again, when are we going to get the list? Oh my God, the list is coming. Oh, the list is coming. And I keep saying to people, you have to create your own list. You have to take all the names from what you hear. You have to judge what you think of it. And then you've got to put your own list. Because, for instance, I mean, one of the things that people don't realize about these court documents this time, let's take an example of Alan Dershowitz. Is one example of Alan Dershowitz where it talks about Alan Dershowitz being being involved in rape. And then it also tells you about Alan Dershowitz, that retraction, that being retracted, right? You are going to have to wait, even though it's a live session. Very sorry about that. Go on then, right. Sorry, my flatmate just got home and my dog decided she's going to go and give him some nonsense. So she's like, oh, at the door. Oh my God, I need to see him, please. I love him. Bella Boo Boo. She's a lovely girl. Bella Ciao. So you know, there was a lot of stuff coming out. So Alan Dershowitz, for instance, everybody said bad things about Alan Dershowitz, yeah. And he's probably a bit of a greasy guy. I don't like him. Worked for the mob. Obviously part of intelligence. I mean, he's Epstein's major lawyer, isn't he? Yo, Daniel. How's it going? he's Epstein's lawyer. Of course he's going to be a dirty rascal, dirty Dershowitz. Everybody knows he's going to be a dirty rascal. So it isn't as too much a surprise that Alan Dershowitz gets such a bad rap. But you've got to remember, these are court documents. So this is someone making an accusation in court. So this is Virginia Giuffre saying this happened with Alan Dershowitz. And then later on, it's Virginia Giuffre saying, actually, that didn't happen and I don't remember anything. So you see how the case is undermined already by the main people who created the case in the first place in 2013, 2014. Yes, because it was set up to fail. In my opinion, and by all the research I've done, the whole case was set up to fail. So they've put someone in who's then lied about knowing for sure that she had sexual relations with Alan Dershowitz under the duress of being trafficked, etc., as a young girl. And then she denies it, both in court documents. And everybody on the Epstein files were going, dirty Dershowitz, Dershowitz is guilty, Dershowitz is guilty. But when you actually look at it, it's like, well, the evidence, that evidence doesn't show it. But look, he's not an innocent guy. He's one of the most dirtiest, dirty Dershowitz around. There's no dirty Dershowitz dirtier than he. He's a guy who loves to, loves obviously to be in with the rich and powerful. And that catches up with you eventually. And Harvard, of course, everybody who knows my work knows that Harvard is a center of many control structures of the powerful elite. So you can expect all of that stuff. Virginia's not a victim. Yeah, it's a very strange one. Okay, we'll talk about that in a sec. That's one of the first things. One of the first things we can talk about is credibility, and then we can go on to the rest, because that's a really important factor in this. Let me tell you how I got here, how I ended up being on an XSpace with some of the biggest people on there. And really, I know I'm not being over the top with this. I became central to basically linking up and explaining the information properly to people. Because a lot of people don't realize what the information looks like. People don't know what it means. Don't know if it's come out before. Don't know who's involved. Don't know all of it. Everybody's like, oh yeah. It's all been available before. People could have read it before. People could have known it before. But it's been, I think, misreported, badly reported, underreported, and people like me have been obviously cut out of the loop until now. And shall I tell you how I got in the loop? It was very strange, to be honest. I say very strange just because of the timing. 2024 started. I was like, no more Mr. Silent Man doing recorded videos. I'm going to do a load of live stuff. I obviously need support. And live is a better way to get support. With live, you actually get people who, are there to appreciate your work as you go, and they appreciate that you're coming to them and talking to them. So obviously, this thing is like something that's really important for being able to get your work out, get support, talk to people directly and have this conversation, so I can see what you're saying and you can say what I'm saying, and we can have a proper conversation. So live was the way to go. So I did my first live YouTube video like on the 1st or 2nd, as a lot of you guys came and see. Then after I did, I'll answer some of these questions I'm seeing in the chat now, including the Ryan Dawson question. There's no questions I won't answer. Yeah, unless they're extremely personal and unnecessary. But, as everybody who knows me, I will try and answer every single bloody question, because that's the thing that's the problem. So how it happened was I went on an XSpace. I'd done this live thing. Then I'd seen the spaces were properly getting going. And I saw one. It was just some small guys having what they called a bonfire. And they were just sitting around. They were a lot of MAGA supporters and stuff. But just, as anybody who goes into any of these rooms, people are generally nice and generally interested. And so I went in and I had a talk with a couple of them. And then before you knew it, they were asking me questions about the Epstein case. And so I was going blah, 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 and telling them all about the Epstein case. I thought, oh, that was really good. I really enjoyed doing that live space. I enjoyed being in a platform that was a lot like a forum, like Greek and Roman times, where you stand in the square and you talk to people and people talk back to you and you have a conversation. And there's a limited amount of control, but that control is enough to make sure that people can't just scream and shout or use the space for themselves. And it's a very clever little system. It's a tweak here, tweak there, makes an entire different forum. And so I really enjoyed it. And then the next day I woke up, and I had only just woken up. And the Epstein Files had just started, and I didn't even know the XSpace was going on or anything. And I sat down, and someone messaged me and said, uh, and anybody who knows I'm in Britain and said, but it was in the afternoon. Well, how have you only just woken up? I sleep at weird times because I just like work all through the night a lot of the time because I'm working on American time a lot of the time. So I woke up and someone messaged me, a really good person who's helped me out on loads of occasions, and said, message these people now, show them your work and get on this space. And I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even check. I was like, I trust this person. I'll send this guy. So I sent this guy, Mario, who I'd never heard of before. Mario, well, everybody apparently knows him, and he's been so like openly kind to me, and to give me a platform like that and put me like fairly central, that's really it's a dangerous thing, but it's also something that I appreciate. It doesn't mean that he owns me or anything, but he's a very nice guy, and he was very nice to me. And they said, straight away, they said, "Oh, come up on stage." And as soon as I started talking, it was clear that I had more knowledge than most people, and that I've got the background of helping research One Nation Under Blackmail, write parts of that, writing up articles, Epstein 101, Younkerman, the Pottinger series. Of course, I know the case inside and out. And so they were like, come on then, get involved. And we started. That was it. From that point on, it wasn't long before I found myself talking with Rudy Giuliani and Alex Jones and stuff, and being in this weird situation I'd never been in, where suddenly I'm in a room, a thing that's going to be listened to by 6 million people. That was unexpected, but in the same way, it doesn't scare me because I know all the information. You know me. I'm not really intimidated by riches and power and stuff like that, because I've got my own ethics, I got my own morals, I got my own friends, I got a group of very close people who keep me good, keep me honest. Really nice people who would tell me, mainly women. My life is full of, and has always been full of, mainly women who help guide me with really clever women who help guide me in some way. Different women all throughout my life, but I trust the women have a different kind of impulse, I find, on the whole. And there's no joking, pun intended there. But women have a different way about them. So that got me. That suddenly I was on the main stage for the Epstein stuff, and the first thing I did is I got a load of other people involved. They said, "Do you know anybody else?" So I had Derek Bros. I messaged Jason Bamas, Mel K, Charlie Robinson. I tried to get a load of people who don't get heard on the mainstream, can't get up there, and I put their names forward, and they let them on. And suddenly, it was a different. All of the other people coming on, all these mainstream journalists, all of these mainstream commentators, Brian Krassenstein or whatever his name is, a lawyer who's like Democratic aligned, Tira, I can't remember her second name, but I mean, a lot of these people would never normally give me the time of day at all, and now they're referring to me, or they're arguing with me and losing, because a lot of this is like, a lot of their arguments are weak, and they're often political arguments, so there's no objectivity there. So wait one moment, let's go back. So that's how it started. That's how I ended up getting on to the XSpace. And then from that point on, they started phoning me up in the day and being like, okay, can you come on again, because we really enjoyed that. And then they've been giving me special thanks, and they obviously appreciate the fact I can link things up. I'm very good in that style, that format. I'm not impolite. I tried to come out, even though when Alex Jones was on, they used me as a tool to interrupt him. Now let's go back to what some of the people were saying, man. What some of the people were saying. Okay. He only had a message from old Olga, he says. Oh yeah. Are you talking about me? Oh yeah, I had a message from my Russian woman. If you're talking about her. Oh my god, that's just bizarre too. I mean, Okay, the other thing we'll talk about in a bit, if you, just in case I forget, you can remind me. Unit 8200 changed their tactics against me completely this week. So it's no more in court. It's no more having me pulled down offline, having my stuff pulled offline. That's going to bring them too much more attention. Now they're direct. Now they're in the spaces. Now they're following me. It's really interesting. So I just say that a sec. It's not just Unit 8200 who are following me. There's loads of different intelligence-linked people who get in touch with me. It's a bit silly. They get in touch with me and then they try and then co-opt me in some way. One of them was just bizarre. One of them asked me recently, a Russian woman, mentioned there in the comments, Russian woman, they asked me on to Russian TV to speak about the World Economic Forum at one point. So I was like, all right then. I hold no allegiance to anybody. I'm Welsh. Like our country got annexed 500 years ago. We're still bitter about it, but there's nothing going to change at the moment. So I don't hold that many allegiances in that way. So I said, all right. So I went on and I talked about Klaus Schwab, his rise, his dad's Nazi model company, the World Economic Forum, and all of that sort of stuff. And then they contacted me again recently, and she tried to get me to pretend to be another Western journalist from another independent media magazine, and that they would blank out my face, give me a different name, and I would tell. I mean, it was just like they were trying to get me to compromise myself, like all my ethics, all my morals, all my work, everything. And I don't even know what they were thinking that how it would work. They weren't even offering me anything in return. It wasn't even like they were offering me money or stuff. They thought I was just going to be stupid enough to pretend to be someone else and trust them and do something so I could have attention where they don't mention it's me. It made no sense. It felt like they were trying to recruit me in some way. And I've had that on a few occasions because I research intelligence. Some really bizarre stuff. So all of this like intelligence stuff gathering up, and it leads to this point where now I'm out on like out loud. I'm like, that's likely to pick up. So it's likely to be that I'm going to have a few more people who are going to try and infiltrate me and try and get. So yeah, old Olga, she's interesting. And you said Virginia's not a victim. There is it's really complicated, isn't it? It's really complicated because she was like 16, 17. Apparently she was 17, I think. She was working at Mar-a-Lago as a towel girl. She's had a lot of abuse before, but that abuse should not excuse her for any of her behavior afterwards. And that's what's happening. So her behavior afterwards is excused by the fact that her father was abusive to her. But the girls who were affected by Virginia Giuffre's direct actions and were led into Jeffrey Epstein's bedchamber. And I mean, one of the witness statements. So we'll come up. This is what I mean. Some of this, because of the redactions, and because we know now Jane Doe number 3 is Virginia Giuffre, because they accidentally leaked it in the documents. They actually put Virginia Giuffre is Jane Doe number 3 in the documents that they released, which was really silly. You're going to know about certain stories, including like this story where Virginia Giuffre takes a girl to some remote house. The girl is under the age of 18. I think she's about 14 or 15. And she's asking to turn around. And Virginia Giuffre by this time is, I think, 18 and 19. And this girl's asking not to go there. And Virginia tells her to shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. That's what the witness statement said. And that witness has been seen as credible and describes exactly the same thing a lot of the other ones do. Virginia Giuffre rides her to the property, takes her into the massage room, sits her down, takes off her clothes emotionlessly, gets on Jeffrey Epstein, starts riding him, having sex with him, gets off him, and tells her to do the same. And that like that girl is like explains how it was terrible. She was crying. She had like loads of effects afterwards, negative effects. None of that sounds like victim. That sounds like someone who's doing the job. She's going out over there and doing this. Now, after a certain amount of time, that obviously had an effect on her, and she ended up running off with Robbie, I think it is, boyfriend Robbie. I think he's Robbie Giuliani. I think that's his name. And went off to Thailand. Nice for some that they can afford it. Oh, we'd love to go to Thailand. And then ended up living in Australia. And then in 2013, the FBI go to Australia and discuss stuff with her. In 2014, she returns and Brad Edwards takes her on, and instantly Stanley Pottinger, yeah, my guy, go watch Searching for Stanley, read the Pottinger Identity, Pottinger Supremacy, and Pottinger Ultimatum. Understand who Stanley Pottinger is. CIA, deep CIA, ex-boyfriend of Gloria Steinem for 10 years while she was also CIA. And I'm not talking about the early years of her being CIA, 1959 to 1969. I'm talking when she was in Miss Magazine, and Miss Magazine was being used to get into the mind of women on behalf of the CIA too. That's really what the evidence shows. If you read the Red Stockings Manifesto from the mid-70s, you'll hear a lot of the evidence come up. There was also New Dawn magazine in 76 published a piece about Gloria Steinem being CIA, and so on and so forth. Well, Virginia Giuliani got co-opted by the CIA in 2014. Okay, so that's 5 years before this case actually starts. Maria Farmer, another supposed victim, supposedly in hiding, is registered on the Federal Antitrust Enforcement LLC, which is a private company that Stanley Pottinger makes up at his home, which includes David Bowie's and other, in 2017. So when Maria Farmer's in hiding, she's also part of the legal team doing a load of stuff. And then later on, of course, you'll know her strange story where she claims that a paedophile at the age of 24 molested her like she was a teenager. And it makes no sense. And then she's flipped backwards and forwards on it. So credibility is massive on this. Virginia, as this evidence comes out, people will hear it and realize there's a load of nuance in this that suggests that the Epstein victims are not all they appear to be. There's the named ones are in trouble. There's certain people within the name. Now, I've been trying to communicate with one of them, and I'm going to say who, Sarah Ransom. She was against. I had back channels open at one point where someone who I trust and I love, like one of my core group of friends, I would say, close confidants now, close friends. A beautiful man called Andrew contacted her and said, "Listen, you want to speak to Johnny because he's going to tell you the truth and he can help you in an investigation," because she wants to take things separately, a different way, because she knows she's in something deep. And her and Maria Farmer came head to head recently, and Maria Farmer's like a attack dog control. I can't even describe what she is. It's just some of what she does is like completely mental, completely off the hook. I mean, what I found really funny during the Twitter files is that they had one guy coming on, who kept coming on and going, and Maria Farmer says that it's all Jewish people, it's all Jewish people. He's missing out the fact that she's now converting to Judaism, and she's reading the Torah, and she's saying, oh, I'm going to convert to Judaism now because I've said all these anti-Semitic things, and I'm on your side, really, because she's on their side. She's doing the business. She was in business with Stanley Pottinger. Maria Farmer had mariafarmer.com when she was supposed to be in hiding. She had a Twitter, she had a Facebook under her name. She was pushing out, she was literally atting Eileen Guggenheim on her Twitter in 2011 when she's supposedly in hiding. She's in Eileen Guggenheim, in front of Eileen Guggenheim, who she's supposed to be in hiding from, and a lot of others, including Vicky Ward, who apparently didn't write the article and stuff. In 2006, Take Home a Nude, with Eric Fissel as well, who was her mentor, in I think it was actually, was it in Sotheby's or was it in one of the other? Well, anyway, it was a big event with all these people she's supposedly in hiding from, and there is bullshit galore. Now, this is the first time, the Twitter Files, the first time I've been able to say anything about any of this properly to an audience. They've never allowed us to say this. So what is changing? And we're going to have to discuss that. Sorry, I get through these first questions. There's going to be loads that I bring in. And thank you, Amy. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for your help and your support. Victims refuse silence. Yeah, big old. So let's see. Do you rate Ryan Dawson's work? Mob Epstein, on Epstein, I suppose. Ryan Dawson's extremely complicated in my life because my ex used to hate Ryan Dawson and Ryan Dawson hated my ex. He accused her of stealing from him and she accused him at one point of stealing. Then she tried to bridge the gap at one point and he refused. And I'm not surprised, probably because she says nasty stuff about people when she gets angry. I have had little bits of interactions with Ryan Dawson. I watched a few of his stuff very early. I think personally, just on a personal level, I think he's a bit of a cock. So I'm not too keen on being like, oh, I think he's one. I think some of the times he acts like he's a little child and he acts like, woo, 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 woo. Why isn't anybody listening to me? While he's bitching everybody off and making enemies all over the place so they don't listen to him. I mean, you've got to be somehow humble. You can't walk around without any he is completely like, I am the best in the world. I am the best in the world. Okay, well, be the best in the world on your own then. That's the type of person I see Ryan Dawson at. So whether he changes that, whether that character changes in age, I don't mind. I've not got anything permanently against him. I've had people in my group of friends who know Ryan Dawson and have tried to get say, oh, you should speak to him and get us together, and I'm just not interested. It cause a massive amount of trouble with my ex as well, because I want to be able to build up and have a communication with my kid eventually, but at the moment she's being awful. I'm sure if I make her life even more awful, then it's going to get more awful. So I got to have a little bit of like I got to be a bit humble with it. Ryan does good work. Well, that may be so, but he needs to do it with some sort of like with some sort of humbleness. He needs to be a bit more humble. He's just not humble at all. He's so up himself. So he can do good work, but if you do good work and you still act like an arsehole, then people are going to only see the arsehole bit. And I don't agree with some of his conclusions as well with the Epstein case. But that's the same with most people on the Epstein case, because most people on these commentators are saying it's only Israel, it's only Mossad, and if you dare say the CIA, you're a shill. Because then you're saying it's not Mossad, when I'm saying it's Mossad and CIA, and they can't handle that argument. They don't want to come near me because that argument makes a load of sense. Of course it's Mossad. Of course it's the CIA. Of course they're together. Of course they're working together. They always have since 1967, really, they have. They were before. They were working together in ways before 1967. But as I explained to a lot of people, as a lot of people know, before the CIA, after its inception and to 1967, it was an anti-Zionist organization. You can't get away with it. Virginia Gildersleeve was anti-Zionist. Dorothy Thompson was an anti-Zionist. Kermit Roosevelt Jr. was an extreme anti-Zionist who used to write poetry about Palestine back in the day. So, these aren't people who were like, I'm down with the Zionists. These were people who were completely against it, and they got beaten out. And part of that beating happened because of the very well organized Jewish groups in America that then put pressure. And people like Les Wexner were fundamental in putting that pressure on intelligence and other groups in the US, power groups in the US, that then aligned with Israel and aligned with people like Wexner. Your Rudy Giuliani moment was quite nice. It sure did seem he didn't want to answer that. Yes, Daniel. Oh my God, that was so brilliant. I mean, for those who know, Searching for Stanley Season 1 is out. Season 1 is the Pottinger identity cut up segmentally so you can understand the context of each event that's in that. So Watergate, Kent State, all of that. You all know this. Now, Season 2 is going to be the Pottinger supremacy. So that'll include, I've actually, even though I've exchanged just 2 parts of it, so Gloria Steinem isn't in the second part, she's in the first part, and the life and rise of J. Stanley Pottinger, his family, and his brother's amnesia won't be in the second part. That's something I'm going to be going back to instead. Iran Contra is going to be in there. The October surprise is going to be in there. Other things are going to be in there because of Iran Contra and the October surprise in there. Well, in 1984, it was Rudy Giuliani's decision whether to indict John Stanley Pottinger, who was central to Iran Contra for the CIA. He said out loud in multiple newspapers on statements publicly, "Oh, we're looking to whether to indict him." Now, we know he broke the law. He was central involved in it, but Rudy Giuliani didn't indict in the end. And so I asked him that question. I got to ask him that question. Do you remember? A question about J. Stanley Pottinger, who's on the prosecution team. Do you remember the reasons why you didn't indict him, or etc., for his central role in Iran Contra? Now, it was a very loaded question in that sense. And he went, no, I don't remember that. But the instant, the way his body language was, everything, the way he just, it felt to me like he knew exactly what that was, and he wasn't expecting it at all. Like Alex Jones, I don't think was expecting some of the questions later. Amy, thank you for your support. I love you. Ellen, Maria uses bots. She uses loads of things. She's got loads of nasty messages for me. She makes nasty videos for me, calls me names. She was in the Epstein Files comment sections, apparently, under some pseudonym, Johnny Name or something like that, or No More, and was just bitching me because she can't have people. If these people believe me and they look at the evidence, they're going to go, "Oh, Maria Farmer's a real big liar," and so it goes round in a big. And she can't accuse me of libel. None of her, or whatever you'd call this, blaspheme. She can't accuse me of anything like that, because it would open up stuff in court. I would be able to introduce evidence into the court, and that would then affect the Epstein case. You see, if she tries to sue me, I enter in all the evidence, and that changes the game. So her lawyers, including I think her name's Siegfried, I can't remember. They won't do anything. Not really many spaces. Yes. Jason Bamas does good work. I said to them, you need to bring Jason Bamas in, and he came in on the last of the Twitter files, so I managed to get Jason. I had actually it was the first or second, but I actually emailed Jason nearly straight away on the first or second day. It was like, Jace, get involved, blah blah blah. Didn't hear back from him, and it was a big shame because he did. I mean, everybody knows about Jason's documentary works surrounding 9/11. So asking Rudy Giuliani a question would have been really good stuff, wouldn't it? So you know your stuff, JV. Well, yeah, I spend all my time going, ooh, look what they're doing, and remembering it and writing it down. If you write something down and you draft it 5 times and you write the final edit, you don't forget it because you're drafting and you're having to type it over and over again. So it's, in a sense, it's a bit of a cheat. Grove, yeah, Richard Grove. If that's what you're, Ian. Hello, Ian. Ian Smedley is saying there, Richard Grove. I agree. I didn't think about that because you think I will message Grove and ask him, or are you saying Bohemian Grove? Because it could be either one. But if there's a suggestion of who's good, then I mean, Grand Theft World podcast is one of the best places to find knowledge out there, and they're old school. They've been doing it from the start, you know. Billy Boy, I think the comment was regarding Alan's Russians. Oh, right, okay, that might be so. Well, regardless, there's loads of these Russian women around, you know, and they're naughty and they try and get you to do whatever. I mean, Russian women are very manipulative. I'm sorry if you're a Russian woman and you're there going, how dare you? But I mean, on the whole, I'm not saying all of them, but 70% of them seem pretty manipulative. I think that happens, though, when your best men, generations of your best men go to warfare and get completely wiped out, and you end up with a base of very strong women. I think that's what happened anyway. The Grove is one meeting place. There's more than one location, so you're definitely talking about Bohemian Grove. And yeah, it is one meeting place. The Grove is a one meeting place by the Russian River. And if you haven't, I've seen it. I've done a 2-part news hound called, I think it's called Running Nude in Bohemian Grove, which is it covers, or we go through all of this as a load of source material from newspapers about Bohemian Grove from 1874 onwards, including the most amazing Alice Ricks article from I think it's about 1896 or 1904. I can't remember which one, which is brilliant. It describes the Grove in a very esoteric way. The owl, the mortarboard, and the Bohemian. These are the 3 parts that make up Bohemian Grove. The owl standing for government institutions and foundations, so the people like Kissinger and Nixon and people who turn up. The mortarboard, the people in the mortarboard, a lot of the people who were involved in organizing it were in universities, and they were an important part. And of course, the Bohemian are the people who can make you, the normal person, do something because they have been taught the ways by these other two. And it's a very, Bohemian Grove is a very interesting place. It's changed a lot in its time. Wasn't Virginia one of the listeners in the space? Yes, in the first space, Amy, Virginia was there. In the first day, Virginia, she didn't come back afterwards. And she tried, I think, to be involved and show, oh, look. And they were very excited about that. She will not come up to a stage if I'm on stage. For sure. I don't want to touch wood on that. I don't think she wants to come up onto a stage. I'll rephrase it. I don't think she wants to come up onto a stage if I'm on stage, because I might dispute what she says. And of course, all of these girls don't want to have a backwards and forwards about things that they've lied about. And what I knew that other people didn't know, that I was sure was going to be the reason why Virginia didn't end up going up on stage, was that this is the unsealing of documents. You're going to discover that she lied about Dershowitz, which came out in yesterday's. You're going to discover that she said for sure that she was raped by Dershowitz while she was underage. And then she said for sure she couldn't remember because there was too many professors and she can't remember. That is insane. She's just undermined the entire case with that. And so that will be later on. Can you imagine her coming on in like 10 days, after 10 days of drops, and sitting there and being like, oh, yeah, I forgot everything. And yeah, I don't know anymore. I mean, that's undermining the entire case. If you got a witness who can't remember whether what she said before was true and you have to retract it from a major case, then something's wrong. So I think Virginia was one of the listeners. She was very worried about coming up to the space. And I knew, I was, it's weird having all of these weird interactions, knowing that Virginia, for instance, is aligned with Maria Farmer. Maria Farmer's told complete lies. I couldn't understand why she would align with Maria Farmer when Maria Farmer's provably lied. Well, it's pretty clear she's aligned with Maria Farmer because she is about to be outed in these document dumps further. How the credibility of Virginia Giuffre has been undermined by her own statements. That's going to be a massive part of this. That's going to be coming up in the next week. If you want any prediction for the next week, it's that you're going to hear things that'll make you go, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Oh, I didn't know that. And then you'll start to hear people say, well, if they can't be trusted, what does that mean about the rest of the evidence? And that is it. That is it. In 2013, 2014, they decided they got to make sure they have a case that crumbles, but they got to make it look like it's real, like they've actually got justice, and then they got to pull the rug away. And I think this whole Twitter files here, what we're seeing is part of the start of the rug being pulled away, whether they wanted it this way or not. This is the way it's going. What are your big open questions now that you've been through Epstein and Pottinger and Junkerman? Without giving anything away, of course. Well, Daniel, I have to say, there's actually there's a load of links. I mean, I'm going down the RFK Jr. route along with a few other routes. So you got to remember Epstein was a kingmaker. Some of the people that he tried to infiltrate were vice presidents and presidents of America. So I explained to some people during the Epstein Files that Lieberman and Richardson were both likely to be Al Gore's running mates as vice president, and he was giving money to both. And then Al Gore, we know from the file drops this week, went to Epstein Island with his wife. Nothing. I mean, he's the most boring man in the world. So not everybody who turned up at Epstein Island was there for sex, because you don't need to do Al Gore like that, do you? If everybody around him is going, oh yeah, Epstein's wonderful because they're getting sex, then Al Gore's going to go, okay, whatever you say, because I'm with you and you're doing that job for me anyway. So, but you have to understand it. So he wants to co-opt the Republican, the Democratic nominations for president. Yeah. So what's the evidence of that? Bill Clinton, first 2 years Bill Clinton's in office, Epstein's in the White House 17 times. That's pretty heavy, meeting 17 times with the president. And then the next potential president would be Al Gore, with Lieberman or Richardson being his vice president. And he had all of those. He was giving money to Lieberman, he was giving money to Richardson, and he was obviously supporting Al Gore. Then the next one, John Kerry, was the next Democratic. He was giving money to John Kerry up until 2002 when they met the two senators in Foxcoat House. He had been giving money to Kerry for a while. I think he had met Kerry on a few occasions. I think that's another name that's going to come up, John Kerry, because it's kingmakers. It's all the kingmakers. Understand, he was the kingmaker of the Democratic Party. So who is another one of the Democratic nominees? Maybe, oh, Hillary Clinton. Later on, oh, did we hear anything? Oh, we heard the first sneaky peek that Hillary Clinton was somehow involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, of course, he's not only a kingmaker, he's a queenmaker too, isn't he? That's what he is. Obama is one of the only ones that I haven't been able to, we've heard rumors of, but I've not heard anything that's concrete. And the other one, of course, that is very prominent would be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yeah, Biden. I'm not sure if Biden's had any relationships with him. I think the Bidens were involved in the same sort of like intelligence run operations, but in Central America rather than the East Coast. So I think that's part of what Hunter Biden's role was being a fixer, kind of like Epstein, like an interlocutor for foreign powers, but in a slightly different way, and running the middle America rather than East Coast. So I don't think Biden's had to necessarily get with him. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. used to go around his house, so the housekeeper said, the same one we heard from in the testimony that got dropped this week, where he was saying he needed to keep $2,000 to pay off these young girls for sex. I mean, that's pretty serious stuff. Like, that's pretty serious evidence. The guy obviously knew what was going on, but he didn't care because he was probably being paid mega bucks to do all of this. I think he's dead now. And so Robert F. Kennedy Jr. also flew on the Lolita Express a couple of times. He went to, they went to a New York gala, if I remember. Was it a New York gala? I think it's a New York gala, some charity event. Him and his wife is pitched on the table with Epstein at the event. I've not seen a proper picture of it. I've just seen like someone's got a picture of it and they've put their print over the top of it saying, this is my picture. You can't use it unless you give me money. And so they're obviously waiting for someone to buy it. And that'll happen once RFK Jr. is in the limelight fully. Then they'll bring him down. So you can see how Epstein's operation is still affecting the Democratic nominations. Now, what you're saying about what big questions are open, that is really important, because why would Epstein be taken down? Why would the Epstein takeout happen? I've heard loads of rumors. I heard rumors someone who I was very close to once, people I'm sure know who I'm talking about, tried to get me to say that it was his relationship with Mohammed bin Salman, which he had a very close relationship with Mohammed bin Salman. And the reason why Epstein was taken out is because he turned Mohammed bin Salman to Israel rather than America. But that's not true. He was turning him to both. It's pretty obvious that both Epstein and Mohammed bin Salman were brothers from another mother. They loved it. They were into the technocracy. They were both into weird science, pseudoscience of the future. And so they were both investing in that loads. So yes, there's a lot going on there, but I don't think that's the reason why he died. I think he was killed because there was going to be the kings that he had compromise over were about to step up, including people like RFK Jr. were about to step up to the throne, and they could not leave Epstein around anymore. They had to get rid of him because one of these guys who are stepping up to the throne, in my opinion, is probably intelligence linked, and means that the intelligence know that's the best way to get themselves back in power and control of the entirety of America. And so the best way, what is it to do? Well, it's to make sure no one's in the way to cause trouble, and this is out of the papers. That was never going to happen, but they had to try. And so how did they try? Well, we see Epstein with a garrote around his neck. So that's what I think. The big question is, why did Epstein die? And the answer is probably because a king that he had made was about to become king, or was going to attempt to become king. And then afterwards, RFK Jr., and I had already had this belief earlier on, and then RFK Jr., who I know had a close relationship with Epstein, sets up to the plate. And it makes me think that why get rid of him? Okay, she's friends with Eliza, the congresswoman. Yes, they were rich men. They want rich men to kill their witnesses. That's why Doe Free linked to name. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it says something much different. I think they're throwing Virginia Giuffre to the wolves. That's what the whole point. She thought she was. I mean, they all thought they were really, like, some of the named victims who have got involved in this. I think they thought they were really clever to be getting involved, and they were made lots of promises, and they knew that if they could get their money and run away, they'd be fine. And they've got their money, and it's always impossible. Once you've done something for intelligence, or you've worked for intelligence, you're stuck in that forever. And that was what Epstein's operation was. You don't come out of it. You don't get out of it. It is very likely that one of these big victims something will happen to them. It's very likely. That's why Sarah Ransom was so worried recently, because she knows that she keeps saying, I've got tapes, I've got evidence, I got these sort of things. I'm not sure about any of that. I think she's saying it to try and keep herself alive, because she knows they were all in part of an operation. Virginia helps hide money. That's probably true. I can't tell, but yeah, she does. She lives in Australia, but has tax exempt and shell companies in Fort Lauderdale. They always like to keep. She has to keep a foot in the American system, or she's not allowed to be involved in any CVRA or CVRS. How do you call it? The claims that they're taking through court at the moment. Shell company is very interesting, says Billy Boy, and Daniel says quite a cleanup operation then. Yeah, it's going to keep going. Teresa's not a victim either. That I mean, it's all too hard to understand what's going on at the moment. One day we'll have a better understanding of who the victims are. I would say you can be sure if their name isn't on there and they haven't come out as what happened to them publicly, they're probably real victims. Billy Boy, I noticed many dead in early pandemic. That is sus. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. The pandemic was sus and must have been a great time to get rid of a couple of people. Sociopath, yeah, maybe. Hi, Johnny. If only you care. If only you know, or if only you kick people in the balls. I don't know what the K stands for. I'll go with kicking the balls. Amy. They all need to cause drama to create attention for themselves, because they are forced to be self-promoters, and they're forced to stay alive. They're forced to keep kicking up the drama, because if they don't, eventually, you know what happens to them. You know what happens to them. None of that's good. Sean Murphy, JV, your Pottinger series is fire. Proud of you. I love you. Thank you. Thanks for all of you guys for sharing and reading that and understanding. You know, you can see how corrupt the case is by looking at the other side of the case. It's as simple as that. And when you actually look at who Pottinger was and how Stanley Pottinger acted throughout his life, watch Searching for Stanley. There's another 2 series to come for sure. I know there's a 4th and 5th also planned in my head. I got to write the articles for them fully yet, though I've already started one of them. Rumor has it Whitney Webb reappropriated his work. Well, Duty's a dog. You may know that I am Whitney Webb's ex-boyfriend and we share a child. And she was well aware of those accusations. And she was extremely concerned. She had all the excuses why not. Listen, at the moment, I'm not the best person to ask about this because I helped write some parts of Whitney Webb's Second Nation of Volume, One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 2, word for word. Went in line, word for word, paragraph for paragraph, and she didn't give me writing credit. And we'll come to that eventually. We're going to come to that. Me and probably Trine Day, the publishers, are probably going to end up coming to heads to that, because she's then gone on to say nasty things about me, including things like I benefit from her work when she didn't actually pay me for nearly every article that I wrote, and she didn't put credit for me in my work. So that caused me to be a little bit peed off, to be honest. And Whitney should be more careful with what she does, because she doesn't want to lose it all. Martin Price, praying for you, and Whitney. Yeah, another thing is that even though Whitney isn't a big fan of me, we got a baby and all of that, and I tell the truth about what the situation happened. I have to say to you all that I don't, even though that she may not feel the same, I don't bear her any ill will. She's the mother of my child, and I want my boy to be happy. I want my boy to be safe. Also, his sister is one of the most important people I've, she's a lovely little girl. So I hope they're very safe. I hope they stay safe. I have a lot of love for them, but me and Whitney Webb's relationship was extremely complex, including over the past year. We did not end well. It's a real shame what she did over the past year, especially for the fact that I have always supported her and I have always offered her true advice. And the thing that really ended our relationship was her support for RFK Jr. and us arguing about the fact that I wanted to write an article about RFK Jr. She refused to let me write one, or tried to refuse. And I had an argument, of course, about the obvious problem with that, because she got to remain telling the truth. She can't just like decide not to tell the truth about one person or another. She has to tell the truth about everyone. So at the end of our relationship, we argued a lot, and she felt that, I think, for whatever reason, that she had to then go and destroy me online to all of her audience so that I wouldn't say that out loud. And that didn't work out well for her, because I'm not going to do that. And I like I say, no ill will. I'm upset if you're in a relationship with someone for years and you have a kid and then they don't let you see your kid, including when your kid's dying in a hospital bed and has to be reanimated. You never forget that. It's hard to forgive it. But I give her love. I'm sorry she feels she has to do that. And I have always been supportive of her in many different ways. And I've always also been really angry with her because of how much she's disappointed me and how much she's been horrible to me so publicly, when I've always been nice to her. And she tried to paint me as a horrible narcissist. And anybody who knows me, anybody who watches my work, anybody who understands who I am, knows that that is crazy to try and paint me as that, because it just won't stick. I cry when people tell me their life. When people tell me about things in their life, I cry because I can feel. I'm like a super empath. I just pick up people's feelings straight away. And so it's very sad she feels she had to go that way. Said for years, multinational spooks work for globalists. Yeah. And Billy, you're completely right. Multinational spooks. When people try and make you think that a spook only comes from Israel or a spook only comes from America, you know. They're living in a fantasy world that doesn't exist anymore. It's just not true. There's spooks all over the place, man, and they all work with each other all over the world. Multinational spookism. I might use that. And you also say Webb's work goes far beyond Ryan's in several areas. Ryan's goes into financial fervor. Indeed, I agree. They go into different places, but they're bickering like children, both of them. They bicker like children because they can't. You know, there is a load of hubris and ego attached to that. I don't like people taking credit for my. If someone takes credit for my work, I'm going to be like, ah, and it really is annoying. It's like even today. I love Iconic. Yeah, I've met Gareth, I've met Richard Willett, I've met Jamie Ike in person. They came over my house and I gave them love, open arm, and I think they're great. But they republished the Youngkerman article today, and they republished it, and they linked they say they give credit for my name within the little blurb, but then they they link people onto another republishing of the article, another site, so it doesn't bring the article to the article I actually wrote. It doesn't go there. It doesn't go to the version in Unlimited Hangout or the version on Newspaste. It goes instead to some other secondary site, and that's like, you know, really frustrating. We're all in the independent media together, and it really feels like, you know, it's annoying when someone doesn't credit you for work. Agreed. But then you should say something and move the fuck on. You go on. You don't just sit around and go, I stole my work. Ryan Dawson's going, Whitney Webb stole my work. Whitney's going, I didn't steal his work, he stole my work. And then Ryan Dawson, oh God, he stole my. And it's like watching two little babies go. So my reaction to that is to tweet. To send a tweet to Richard Willett out in public and say, you've republished a republishing of my article. It would be nice if you sent the traffic to my site, because it's hard for newspace.com to get enough recognition. It's hard for me to get support. It's hard for me to do all of those types of things. And I need that support, you know? And I see one of my favorites. Yeah, I'm getting there. If you only knew that Maria's affidavit is the only reason Virginia was in the case. And it's amazing, because Maria affidavit was the only reason Dershowitz was implicated originally. And it was when they wanted to take him off. They wanted to get him off Epstein's legal team because he's their star lawyer. So you got to see what's happened here. Rotting Jewels. If you don't go and subscribe to Dana's channel now, Rotting Jewels, who you'll see in the comments. If you don't go and subscribe to her channel, you'd be mad. I cannot miss out on Dana Doodah and her wonderful work. I love sitting there and watching some of the stuff I don't know about, things that I have no clue about. It's brilliant. So I love you. You know I love you. You already know I love you. That was epic when you asked Rudy why he didn't prosecute Pottinger. Oh my God. I was on the edge. I was putting up my hand. I was hoping. I just over and over again just kept putting up my hand over and over again. I was desperate to ask him the question about why he chose not to indict John Stanley Pottinger, who's of course prosecution for the Epstein victims. Oh, desperate to. And it was so nice to be able to ask those questions and to be given that trust. That's what I mean. They didn't only give me the platform, they give me the ability to ask any question and say anything that I wanted. I got to speak about Youngkerman. I got to speak about Pottinger. I got to speak about the credibility of the witnesses. I got to speak about all of the things I'm not being allowed to speak about. I've been censored. I've been taken to court for. I've been doing all of it. Suddenly I was allowed to speak about them all. That's nuts. That is nuts. Gotta be. Amy, yes, she was in the space. She didn't speak, but was invited to. Indeed. We all need to support Johnny, says Amy. Oh, I love you, Amy. He's about to get very well known, but he needs to eat and be protected. It's true. press the donate button to send him a sticker. There's 40 of us here. We can all chip in a little. Yeah, people who help me, I love you. I love you. I have to admit, like I skirt on the bottom for the past 8 months, especially since all of the smearing and stuff. I've been in and out of almost complete debt, like going bankrupt and being overdrawn. You know, to do this work, I have to just hope that karma sees me through. And I thought I was going to be bust a month after getting back from Tuesday. So that's April. I thought I was going to be bust. April 2023. I keep working really hard and everything. I just keep like skirting along the bottom the entire time. And really what I need to do is stop having that worry behind me. So I do need support. If you know anybody who wants to support good independent journalism, get them to help me out, because I need to be able to do this without having to worry about whether I can eat. Because, you know, even the past week it's all about switching money and credit cards and trying to get right down to the last moment so I can actually afford to be on the Epstein Files. It's just such a crazy old time. Making money in this area so you can live is really crazy. So thank you, Amy. Thank you for saying that. Ellen, my roommate, and I used to protest Care Cremation Week outside the gates in 1980. Care Cremation Week, what's that? What's that all about? I doesn't sound nice. You're lucky. You see, there's a Bohemian Club building in San Francisco meeting place. That is true. That is where they do their organizing for Bohemian Grove. Bohemian Club is on a very, like everything in San Francisco, it's on a very tight street that's a very tight angle. And what goes on in there, who knows? But they've been there since the late 1800s at least. Yes, they had the offices there for many years, over 100 years. Thank you. She said she may have made a mistake. I believe that might have been carrots and stick motivation. She didn't only say she may have made a mistake. She said she can't remember who it is, and she undermined her previous testimony. So that's perjury. If she's told a lie, if Virginia Giuffre has told a lie and then she goes back on it, she's in trouble. And she's done that. Bobby Kennedy was a huge com. Is that communist or con? Which one is it? Oops, you say? So I don't know which one, because I'm not sure if he was a big commie, but he definitely he went round last year. He went round all the independent media channels, going on about COVID like he cared about people, and then before you know it, you question him about Zionism and Israel, and the whole platform he had built just collapses. And I was saying that to Whitney. That's one of the argument we had was you don't support big politicians. Just don't support big politicians. Not in this system. We know they're all corrupt. Come on, we know they're all corrupt. We know the root. Johnny, how does your Klaus Schwab fit in into this sordid web? Well, I think one of the things the way Klaus Schwab fits into this sordid web is the funding at Harvard. Joint funding, I think you'll find. I think part of the Clinton initiative funded the place where Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum courses happen. So he's actually located within a Clinton-funded building, if I'm not wrong on that. But regardless, Harvard is a link of all of these, of course. Kissinger training Schwab there, giving John Kenneth Galbraith, Herman Kahn to Schwab to support his future, but also like afterwards, lots of different things like the Wexner Foundation and stuff, Wexner Institute or whatever it's called, is in Harvard. These people all turn in the same circles. Epstein was giving money to Harvard as well. I think the Harvard connection is massive. Schwab and the elites at Davos tried to keep away from a lot of the other operations. And I think that's on purpose, because they know they're an operation. Anybody who's read my work will know that the World Economic Forum is a CIA funded and constructed operation. It was put together by CIA. It was imagined in a international seminar, which was funded by at least 3 CIA conduits: the Farfield Foundation of American Friends in the Middle East, and the Fairfield Foundation. They're known CIA conduits that help set that up. So I think there's a lot. I think those are some of the links, but there's always a lot more Klaus Schwab links, because he is about technocracy, and of course these guys were all looking at technocracy and transhumanism, which is something that transhumanism is also, I think, something that Schwab is very interested in and has been very interested in since his time with Herman Kahn, again in Harvard, meeting him in Harvard. Hillary is involved with every powerful deviant and sicko. It's true, isn't it amazing? You must have to really work out, tick the boxes. Biden is a DuPont puppet. Now that's interesting. It's interesting because one of the people Maria Farmer tried to push on me to undermine my own credibility was a fraudster who had 8 different identities, Tonks, and he claimed to be an adopted son of John DuPont, and it was just such a lie. He made up so much. So it's funny that DuPont always lingers around, but I think it's just famous names, isn't it? Sniffy Joe, yeah. Hunter worked for Bowies. Yes. So Epstein's bloody council, part of the Epstein's victims council, who located in the same place that Epstein's lawyers are, Darren Indike. They were located, David Bowies, and Bowies. Hunter worked for Bowies. Hunter Biden, can you believe it? So there's a connection there between. That's a really interesting one. Thanks for bringing that up. If only you know. So Hunter worked for Bowies, but Bowies also defended Harvey Weinstein and a load of others, including the Bowies. One of the Bowies things was amazing. It was that him representing the guy, the woman who did that big scam where they claimed to be able to test blood really easily. I can't remember what her name is. They'd be able to test blood really easily. It turned out it was a big scam. They couldn't do it at all, and they just took loads of money. And it turned out that Henry Kissinger and people were on the board, and David Bowies was put to represent them. And instead of representing them, what he did, what was it? He became a member of their board as well as representing them, so instantly creating a conflict of interest within the case. Now, that's really strange. That's almost like you're trying to you have no choice. You hope of getting away with it, so you're trying to make your own case fall apart. Johnny, how come on the flight log Clinton flew with Epstein to Norway, then England, then China and Alaska, all within a few days? 2003. Is that 2003? Well, I don't completely know because I haven't looked fully into that. Now, I covered the 2000. Was it the 2002? That's not part of the. You're not talking about part of the Asian tour, because that was around the same time in the year, but the year before, I think. Anyway, they flew around a lot. They went to China on a couple of times. When they did the Asian tour, Bill Clinton had been picking up an award in Japan, I think it was, the day before. Then they met in a military base in Japan, and they flew to various places, including, but there was a flight to China in between. Now, there are loads of rumors that he was doing high-level deals with Chinese military officials, and that it somehow revolved around American defense systems. Now, that's all I can say about that at the moment, because that's all I really know. But there is rumors that he was basically buying and selling information about American systems to the Chinese. So that could very well be it. Now, Alaska and Newfoundland are both extremely interesting routes for them to take. You can guess if they're going to China, it's much more likely that they go to Alaska because it's a stop off. It's in the middle. But it's very, I think that there's also Newfoundland and Alaska, when they land there, that could signal part of an operation to drop something off. And me and Ian cancel Cloco at cancel Cloco on Twitter. When we were on the Twitter files, the Epstein files, sorry, wrong files. When we were on the Epstein files the other day, something really interesting happened. I think it's really what they wanted to be. We both ended up in a situation where we were going through the some of the flight log detail live in front of people. And I think people really probably started to enjoy it at that point, because it's like he's explaining about their trips, how they went to France, a few other places, then went to Newfoundland, and then went back down, I think it's a place called Smithville, and then went back down to America. And I had already been looking at that, and we had talked about this on the Younkerman article, if the Younkerman read-through, for those who went through the Younkerman read-through with me, that it seemed like that was an operational journey. They were going to a place like Newfoundland where there's hardly anybody about, and they would meet the child trafficker Jean-Luc Brunel. Imagine they could pick up something there, and then they go to this really distant, remote airport where the military are in control, and it's only a military base on there, and then fly him back down to the East Coast. Now, they did this on a few occasions, and I think that could see operational. That could be. And when we were going through that, it was really interesting. And they cut Ian off. Ian's mic cut out near the end of that. And it was really interesting. And what he was saying at the end of that, I asked him afterwards, what were you saying? What was your last sentence? And he said, they went to Maine. Why would you go to Maine? So I'd already heard him say that. And we'd already heard him say that. But there was a US senator from Maine who's probably going to be now one of the ones who was on the Younkerman journey in 2002. So that was really interesting. It was really interesting to have that conversation live and being like investigating it live. But I think that was a bit too far for this. So yeah, China and Alaska, complicated, very complicated. Epstein was more of a liability than he was worth. Yes, Lutefisk. But all intelligence operators are more liabilities than they're worth. But they, if their liability factor becomes too off the scale, then they'll get the chop rope there. They get garroted in the prison cell. These messages. I'm so glad you're all interacting. Thank you for coming and having a conversation. Saudi royals go west for education from a young age. They turn very westernized. They don't need to be turned to the west. Yeah, that's true enough. They crave Western sort of interaction. Billy Boy, I tried to warn others about Kennedy. I know. What can you do? No one likes RFK though. Yeah, Amy, you're right. He's widely considered a kook. Yeah. He's not legitimate political threat. I agree. I think he's there to. This is what was pissed me off so much. I think RFK's work was to put us, the independent media, all into a box, listening to RFK, idolizing another person, believing another thing, following another false idol, so we don't look at other things. And I think that's what it was. And I think the fact that RFK's Junior's campaign manager and what stepdaughter or whatever it is, or daughter-in-law is linked with the CIA, and his son's doing operations over in Ukraine. Suspect as hell. I mean, just don't follow. It says you can't. It's, of course, it's suspect. So RFK, yeah, he's a dodgy one. Sarah, hello, Sarah. What is the reason you think that the info is being unsealed presently? Well, I think they have to. I think by law, after a while, you have to start unsealing documents. But I also do think this is resetting the case. Everybody thinks they know the case. I know that they don't know the case. I know that they think they know the case. I know that when we go through this evidence, people go, oh my God. They're all sitting around going, oh my God, can you see this? What are we hearing? And I've read that exact same evidence from a newspaper when it was happening in court, and it's the exact same details, and you know exactly who's happening. So it's already happened. The shock should have been then, but people, there's too much to take in with the Epstein case, isn't it? Way too much to take in. They can't take it. So part of the reason it's been unsealed now, I think, is a reset. I think there's something big happening. You see, Alex Jones has just come back onto the platform, that XSpaces has just been created, that all of these new ways to discuss things. I think they've looked at what the future looks like, and they've realized they can't stop people talking. And so instead, they've got to make sure that they're in control of the forums that people speak at, or at least the forums lead to a direction where there can be a solution, where they can then change things around so that they can have less problems from the public. I'm not sure if that answers your question properly, but really the unsealing of the documents is a process to reconciliation, I suppose. And I think part of it is that's one of the reasons why you're hearing the idea put forward by Nick Bryant, who that fraudster who got into contact with me. Nick Bryant tried to push him on me as well. So did Lady Victoria Hervey. So did Maria Farmer. So did others. Many others have tried to push this fraudster to undermine my own credibility. I think that a lot of that is was to try and make people like me run away at the start, and if it couldn't work, then they're just going to have to show everybody. So I think that's part of the reason why I've been given such a platform, an unexpected platform, because they can't beat us. They're going to have to join us. I think that's where we're getting. None of these vile creatures. Hello, Snow White. Nice to see you. I heard about you. I've read about you. I've read about you in books. None of these vile creatures should be in charge of a toilet, let alone a country. Stop voting. Yeah, okay, I agree completely. Theresa Helm is a board member of Virginia Giuffre's Foundation. She's not a victim. Where's Ryan's book? Yeah, Ryan. Good for you, JV. Not nice for I know. Oh my God, that's heinous. Oh, I don't even. That says more about it. I know. But again, I don't want her to be hated. I don't want my ex-girlfriend to get a load of shit because of this. But she's done her things for her own reason, and I feel really sad about it. And she thought she was going to destroy me, and I was going to disappear. Oh, it's really cringeworthy because, she was going to destroy me by saying that I'm a little bit of a narcissist, and saying that she can't handle it, and releasing a podcast and releasing a load of things and selling my emails to her. So I just don't understand it. Then, I mean, when someone does that, I don't know if you've ever had someone with 500,000 supporters smear you with loads of lies so that you will stop being able to see your kid. But I tell you, it made the blood rush to my head and nearly made me collapse. And I am happy that I had loads of really tight friends and very close neighbors, a massive community. Everybody in this area where I live knows me, everybody. I go in every single shop. I go in every single place. They all know me, and not know me just a little bit. They know me for having conversations, for the fact I'm willing to help them, that I'm always there for them, and that we're a community. So without that, I think I would have been lost. I also had a very kind group of people who knew the situation very well, who are my core group, the people I trust the most online, who also helped me go through some of the most difficult parts. Why did they release them now? Curious about your thoughts. Yeah, I tried to explain that, Princess Santos. Yeah, signed documents being released is kind of like the time they got to release, and they've got to get them out at the end. Ryan is a good researcher, but he's an arsehole. Yes, he is. He's a problematic personality. So to be honest, I'm a bit of a problematic personality at times because I tell people to F off too, but he does it just in a way that is very self-centered. And some of his is the guys who he who run in his circles. I know them. I talk to them. I have conversations with them. I like a couple of them. They're still a little bit rough around the edges. They're like sandpaper. Lots of people don't like their ways. A problem. He has a real problem with women due to unresolved issues with his mum. I think so, yeah. But I think we've all got a bit of unresolved issues like that. Hello there, 2000 DC. That's good. 2000 DC. Big fan of 2000 AD back in the day. Puppet Master Fool. Hi, sorry for arriving late. Don't be silly. I don't even know what late and early is anymore. It's the middle of the night. Great read throughs. Thank you for reading through. RFK's wife was friends with Barbara Streisand, who was Brett Kimberlin's biggest supporter, and he's spook connected to many other spooks. Not a surprise at all. She had it hard. RFK's wife. Are you talking about RFK's now wife, who was in what's it called? Curb Your Enthusiasm. That wife. Are you talking about that wife? Or are you talking about the wife that killed herself because she was completely and utterly sad about life and her relationship? Princess Santos, I started following you yesterday. Heard you speak on Patriot Storm Space yesterday. Hey, man, some of that was spicy, wasn't it? I mean, some people don't like me saying that it's both the CIA and Mossad. Some people don't like me having an opinion. Some people don't like me being a bit educated about stuff. And I go into some spaces and it turns a bit argumentative at times. But those people were really nice. I loved Patriot Storm Space. I loved that. It was very nice people. They were having some brilliant conversations. It appears I am suspiciously unsubscribed. Yes, expect that. Subscribe to the channel, become a patron. Yes, please. Good evening, Puppet Master Fool. JVL, subscribe on your site because I don't want to give payment. I understand. And if any way you can help me is brilliant. Bohemian Grove. Yes. They let women in Bohemian Grove. Now in Bohemian Grove. No, they don't really. They just pretend to. Have you been on InfoWars? Not yet. I think, honestly, you want to know? I could tell that from talking to Alex Jones the other day on the Epstein Files. I think Alex Jones and I think also Steve Bannon, if you want to talk about him, are both scared of me. I think they're both scared of me. I think they both know that I can hold my own in a conversation. And I think they know that I might not agree with them all the time. Joe, who is on there, Joe Bot XYZ, you know who I'm talking about, Joe Allen. He loves me. I think he'd have me on in 2 seconds. But I think there's some in that community who are ex-intelligence linked who are a little bit hard. Care cremation is the Grove. Oh yes, of course, a cremation of care. Yeah. It's a ceremony at the start where they. Yes, I do know that. A huge condom. Oh. Hey, Johnny. Great to see you doing a recap. Hope you set up a Rumble soon too. I got a Rumble. You could go over there, Johnny Vedmore. You'll find my Rumble, but I can't work out how to do live on Rumble. So I haven't. So I'm sorry about that. But I will try and put these up on Rumble soon. But most of my videos are up on Rumble right now. If you type in Johnny Vedmore. Ellen, Care Cremation Week. Yeah, is a yearly Bohemian Grove ceremony, passing the torch to Masonic and Masonic debauchery. They've been inclusive. So is EU. DZ, bye-bye. The Monte Rio mayor insisted the year before or after COVID, I can't remember. I used to live close by. Okay, wait a minute. JV, are the files release distractions because it's old news? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but that's part of the reason. It's a reset. So no one really even read the files before. So of course they're a distraction. They're given time for people to prepare for them, and then they give them. So they give them, and then they give them publicly. So you could go and find this information, but then they give them publicly, don't they? So let's try and get through as much as these and then get back to talking about a couple of things. I don't know what anybody wants to know. Listen, put your questions down and think about the questions, because hey, we are going back in to the Epstein Files next week, hopefully. So tomorrow, I'm expecting that they're going to ask me to come back and continue with the punditry. So if you can think of things that I expect there to be big names on, think about who that might be, but also think that I'm with you. If you think that you want to ask something or want to find out something from a relevant person, there's loads of people in those crowds. I'm there. Give me something that you want me to ask, and I will try and fit it in. So what we got? Theranos. Yes, Theranos. That's it. Theranos was Elizabeth Holmes. She was the one who went to prison for the fake blood test scandal, and David Bowie became chairman of the board and represented the company as well. Neither more. These first docs are all from 2015 Virginia case. More to come. Personally, I'm thinking they want to shut the public up. It's backfired though. Yeah, I think they tried to shut the public up for ages. It didn't work. Didn't David Martin Price? Hello. Didn't David Bowie represent George W. Bush versus Al Gore? He represented Al Gore, I believe, in George W. Bush versus Al Gore in the Supreme Court to win the Bush presidency. I think he was on the other side. He was the loser in the hanging chad. He also was involved in the Microsoft's antitrust case, which won against Bill Clinton, and it was always Bill Gates, and it was always going to, and he was put in charge of that for whatever reason. He was also, Drexel Burnham bloody Lambert. Can you believe that? That was also David Bowie was involved in Drexel Burnham Lambert. That was how he cut his teeth. And that was a massively important case for them to hide, because when you actually investigate, and this comes up in the Pottinger ultimatum, when you actually investigate the Drexel Burnham Lambert stuff, David Bowie was representing the authorities, and the authorities were the ones who had the most money invested in it. So he was just doing the job for the authority to cover up their own mess. Extremely interesting. Hey, Johnny, says Kelly Beers, why don't you do super chats for extra money since you're on YouTube? Can you not do super chats? Are you not able to do super chats? I thought you were. I thought I did have super chats on. I just got monetized, so there should be a tip function in there if you want to tip at all. But yes, 100%. Listen, if you wanna, I will find other ways to monetize. You can also become a patron. You can also contact me. I know. I need the help money, but if you really want to ask a question, DM me or contact me from the forum on newspaste or johnnyvedmore.com, or just email me. And I'm really interactive. I don't mind talking to people. Always have been, always will be. But thank you. I will, Kelly. I will. I'll try and work out how to do it all. I'm sorry that I haven't done it all yet, because I do need help. Daniel Jeverovich, that's it. Jevremovich. Oh man, people get my name wrong all the time as well. I'm sorry, Mr. Jevremovich. What a name, huh? Weird place. I lived in San Francisco in the 80s, says Alan. Yeah, it is a weird place. I thought you unsubscribed. What was someone else? Angus King and me. I'm late. Did you already talk about why Rudy Giuliani didn't indict Pottinger over Iran Contra? Yes, Nevermore. I did. He didn't. I mean, he obviously did it because they had to cover up the case, because they had to get John Stanley Pottinger off. Because if you investigated Pottinger, you would have discovered William Casey and a load of others who were involved in that administration that was in power then. Because remember, William Casey was involved in Iran Contra and October Surprise, and in return, he got head of the CIA. So Bush and Reagan gave him the head of the CIA in return. That's pretty much like, you're involved. Now, Rudy Giuliani at the time, he's representing 7th District of New York, one of the most corrupt areas in America, corrupt organization authorities in America. And of course, he wondered whether to indict him, and then never indicted him, even though the evidence was clear. And then Pottinger ran off to Mexico and hid. And then soon everybody got... now, this is interesting. Soon, after Iran Contra and October Surprise, eventually Bush, when he was president, gave everybody a free pass, whatever they call it. I can't remember. He let everybody off for the crime. But John Stanley Pottinger wasn't accused of the crime, so he was never given any type of guarantee that he won't be prosecuted. So in a sense, he could still be prosecuted. And I would like to see that. Thanks, John. So appreciate your knowledge. Sydney Crosby Gretzky, thank you for coming to join me. I just do a load of writing and read a load of stuff, and if it can be of help, it can be of help. Titus Frost tracked the Dancing Hare yacht and the Limited. It was interesting. I'd really be interested in hearing more of that. Martin Price Bowie's represented Gore. Martin Price and Bowie's represented Gore. Yeah, it was Gore then. I got it backwards. Yeah. The thing is that all of these guys are all Republicans, aren't they? All Democrats mainly. And the lawyers are the same. You have like Democrat lawyers and Republican lawyers most of the time. B-boy, love you call them false idols. They are iconic influencers that prop up the careers of one another. Idol and iconic for some great Greek words. There's some love from Princess. I love you. Jones says Trump is innocent based off one case. Yeah, I know. Sean Murphy, listen, there's loads of chances that someone who's as gangster as Trump could be getting trouble eventually for something. So far, though, all you've got is him having a bit of a breakfast next to someone, and the constant comment that came up in the Epstein Files, the people saying, "Oh yes, but yes, he likes young girls, doesn't he?" He said it, and the actual phrase is, Trump said that Epstein likes women. He prefers the younger ones, so he actually says women. Jones says Trump is innocent. Yeah, sorry, I read that. Heinz wife. Marky, W. Mark. I get it, but it pains me to have to continue following people on YouTube. I know. Okay. Well, follow me on Rockfin then. Come across to Rockfin. Or follow me on Rumble then. Just come straight to my site, newspace.com. Come straight there. It's really easy. Johnny, it would be great to get those big names talking about Epstein intelligence record beyond human trafficking. It's true. I want to. It's something that is really hard to get them to do. Daniel, given he was all around arms trafficking, Khashoggi and all of that, and it seems mainstream is quite conveniently leaving out that part out. Yes, that's what I think the main point is of this. The main point is to look at the salacious gossip. So you're seeing Virginia Giuffre accuse Dershowitz or something. Then you're hearing that later on she retracted it and said completely the opposite. And the whole time you're not looking at the fact that they were running guns and they were selling things off to big people. Like I say, the China thing is really interesting. Talking about weapon systems. Think about that of your enemy. Adam, I thank you, Adam. Thank you for all your work. You say, hey, listen, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support. I need all the support I can get, and I really mean it. Thank you. It's appreciated. I'm interested in learning more about Ghislaine Maxwell's twin sisters and the tech aspect. Me too, but I think that'll catch up with us. That something will happen and we'll have to look into it. But I've got some big things going on, and unfortunately, it doesn't lead over there at the moment. I'd love to. Marky W. Mark, will the Epstein recordings ever make it out, or even the names of the people in them? If not, how will they subvert doing this? I don't think that any of the recordings will come out ever. I think there were ones. I think that the majority of them will probably be hidden in places that they would never have been found. You don't make compromise tapes that are really worth loads and then leave them next to the video camera and video recording equipment that you just took them with. That's one of the things I think people are thinking, oh, they raided the house and they must have taken everything, and everything must have been everything that we can possibly imagine. But I don't think it's quite like that. I think that they raided these properties, took a load of information, took them in, and then discovered, oh, well, we might have to hide some of this, but most of it isn't here. So I think that's how they're going to subvert doing it. Other than that, destroying it. Snow White, I can vouch for Johnny. I can vouch that Johnny chats to his patrons. I do. He always chats to me. Oh, I'm glad. I'm not sure what your handle is on my Patreon, but I do talk to everybody. I like talking. I'm sorry. I tried to do super chat, but it won't go through. It's weird. Oh, they don't like me. deep down. Like I say, you go to newspace.com, there's options there. Will they mention the hospitals on the island? I don't think they'll mention any of the details about stuff like that, because this will still all be the court documents being unsealed. I'm not sure how long this is going to go on for. We're nearly... the running joke then was that they gave Casey a lobotomy so he would be able to testify. Casey? Which Casey? Are you talking about Casey Wasserman? So he wouldn't be able to testify. Are you talking about Casey Wasserman? Did he have a lobotomy? Really? I'm not surprised. He's a bit stupid. Anyway, if you are talking about Casey Wasserman, just to say, Casey Wasserman was on the flights in Africa with Bill Clinton, and his grandson, Lou Wasserman, who was one of the most gangster mobbish type characters who set up the whole of Hollywood's like mobster stylings in the early days. Amazing history. And the dentist chairs. yeah, I know. I can't even... I mean, these guys, though, there's so many things that are quirky about them, isn't there? And Ellen says Daniel Khashoggi was definitely an operative. Yeah, that's why he got chopped up. You're talking about Jamal Khashoggi rather than Adnan Khashoggi, who got fast-acting leukemia. So they all get it. I think the dentist chair was in Florida House. Oh, here we go. Semantics. I bet you they had a dentist chair in each house for whatever the sexy dentist stuff they wanted to do. I can't even imagine what that's about. It might actually just be having dental work. William Casey, head of the CIA during Contragate. Exactly. I mean, that was who was hanging around with Pottinger and a lot in Spain when they were doing Iran Contra and organizing with the meetings in the June and July of 1980. And remember, Pottinger and Cyrus Hashemi were the first ones to come to the government, to the official US government, and say, hey, we can help you set up this deal that can smuggle arms and help you get into power, Republicans. So, Pottinger was at the base level, was central to all of the negotiations, was the main operative for Iran Contra. And then later on, he's like an innocent, and they pretend that none of that happened. Also, one thing to note at the time that someone told me is that I know that Pottinger, his look changed around that time. In 79, 80, 81, he still looked quite young, and suddenly he went really old all of a sudden. He looked like much older. When you look at pictures, he like skipped within 1 year. He had skipped. And someone told me yesterday that actually Gloria Steinem had cancer around that time. And he had been with her for about 8 years at that point. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's something to do with it. And Nevermore. Oh, hello. On the X Files discussion, can you talk about Epstein's company Edge and the futurist bioscientist? Yes. Edge website has been scrubbed. The Edge website was actually one of the first things that I kind of like went delving into. It's extraordinary. Of course, for those who don't know, a guy called John Brockman and Epstein set up this foundation called Edge, and it was to attract in all scientists. And you've got these fantastic pictures from the Edge Foundation parties, the early ones in the late 90s and early noughties, and they include everybody. Richard Dawkins is there, Nathan Mervoyd. Don't like him at all. He's hanging around. A load of really dodgy people. Rupert Murdoch's hanging around. And these were all of the scientists that Epstein was trying to co-opt. And then eventually he was going to try and get him to, build his futuristic stuff so he could do all of his science stuff and do all of his eugenics and create a race of perfect Epsteins that will all go and traffic children all around the world. God, the CIA and the Mossad would have loads of recruits, wouldn't they? Some same I stumbled on it years ago. Yeah, the Edge website's amazing. I mean, here's another thing. I did mention it once. I mentioned it, which is naughty, really naughty, because I'm on the these guys. Obviously, you got okay, come up here, cat. Sorry, my cat's shouting at me. Come on, good girl. Here you go. This girl, silly cat. I did actually mention something about Edge on the second day, I think it was, where because they're all technocrats and stuff on here, and they're in that sense they're all into the technopoly, they're all in technocracy, they're all tech boys, coders and crypto fans and stuff. Well, I mentioned about Eric Weinstein being a member of Edge. Eric Weinstein of the intellectual dark web, brother of Brett Weinstein, Dark Horse podcast, friend of Jordan B. Peterson and all of the rest of them. He was a member of Edge for a few years, and he later claimed that he met Epstein once just during a meeting, and he didn't like him very much and tried to act like, well, I didn't know who he was, but he did know who he was, and he was part of the foundation, and they were part of doing the same thing. So I did mention it once, but I will mention it again if I can, most definitely, because it's a really important thing, especially to this whole Science Island thing. I think there'll be more questions come up about that. Hopefully, if they have me back on, that is, maybe someone will tell them in that time, you can have that guy on. He's telling all the secrets. Okay, you have to click on the $sign. Oh, yeah. You have to click on the $sign before you type. It's true. Okay, so Super Chats is enabled. Is what we're looking at. Oh, look, I can bring up the chats. Boom! Brothers Weinstein and Dad Les. Is it Les ... Is there actually more to that? Oh, look at this. Look at this. I can actually think. See, look, Adam, nice. You're lovely. I didn't know I could do all of this, but it's true. As is said, you need to click the $sign before you type. I didn't click the $sign before I typed all my work, and look, I didn't get anything for it. No, and it's really nice. TED Talks also connected. Yes. Oh, yes, TED Talks also connected. Really interesting, isn't it, that the TED Talks are also connected, and that there's a lot. These guys are all in the same network. I've been subscribed for ages. This isn't the first channel I've noticed this with. Yeah, not a surprise. Listen, you'll find this on most of the same with my Twitter, like my pinned post about the World Economic Forum. People come to me all the time and say, listen, they've unliked it and tweeted it for me. It probably should have had a lot more attention. It's probably been retweeted by a lot more people, but it's because don't think Hamilton 68 went anywhere. The Alliance for Securing Democracy may have been outed during the Twitter files by Matt Taibbi in something that looked like a semi-op. But don't think that it's going to change at all. These guys, Hamilton 68 will have become Hamilton 69, and trust me, they'll lick you till the cows come home with that one. Oh, here we go. Les Weinstein is the brother, dad, deep pockets funding medical patients. Les Weinstein. I don't know about that. Just done a buy me a coffee. Ah, love it. Don't worry. You can refuse to fund my YouTube. I don't mind. It's just, man, I gotta have all of the options open. I can't be selective. If I can't make a living doing the thing that I'm putting in like a double the amount of work for, then it's no good. So I just gotta give all the options. So I agree. I'm sorry that I'm on YouTube, but gonna have to be until someone comes along and makes a better platform that actually works. And I've tried a few. Don't like Eric or his brother. I'm not impressed with his theoretical physics ability. Yeah, agreed. He's a bloody idiot. He's not that talented. If he was, he would be researching CERN with Brian Greene. Be careful, because someone researching CERN was Klaus Schwab, who was part of the setup of CERN. I'll get to that on another time. So Brett and Eric's father is Les Weinstein. Listen, Nevermore, I'd love to learn more about this. Think pandemic antibody patents. Okay, I'm really interested to hear about that, because I find the intellectual dark web to be a bit spooky in general. So I think, listen, I'll give you a chance here, and if you've got any questions or anything you want me to ask this week for the Epstein Files, Get it on, note it down. If you think there's a direction that you think are being missed here, I can use tips. Everything I don't shove things in just for the sake of them. I have to look for the right place for them to be and to be acceptable to say to them. But it is true that this is a massive opportunity for me, isn't it? It's a massive opportunity. I get to actually speak to a load of people. Like 6 million people watched the first one. Massive opportunity for a researcher who doesn't get any traction. I want to say again, thank you guys. Thank you for being here for a live stream for me. Thank you for coming and being involved. Thanks for your help. Thanks for your support. Thanks for everything. If you want to contact me, you know my places, newspace.com. Got a contact form at the bottom. Lots of new stuff coming up all the time. Hopefully I'll have about 2 articles coming up over the next month. But unfortunately, the whole this whole thing has kind of like unfortunately, this whole thing has come in the way to make thing. It might mean that it takes about 6 to 7 hours out of my day doing the Epstein Files, but it's been well worth it. And hopefully we'll have some twists and turns. This is going to be exciting. This is going to be exciting. And what I'd say as well, something that you can, if you're on X, and you see the little ring around my name, I'm probably in another room as well, because what I've been doing is, and I might do it a little bit later today, I've been popping in and out of people's rooms and seeing what's happening. It's time to get round. It's time to tell everybody what we're doing. It's time to build a gang, build a network, build a group who cares about this stuff and can push it from a different route. So that's what I'm after doing. And so I'm going around on networking. Join me in the rooms. If you come to rooms, join me. Send me a little DM as well. If I'm speaking in one of these X spaces, you guys are my guys, yeah? If you want me to say something and I'm a speaker in there, DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open, always have been. DM me on Twitter. Say, I'm in this space. Can you ask this or can you ask that? Because if you don't feel comfortable about doing it and I can be your representative, that's part of the deal we've got here. I appreciate the time you give, man. I appreciate you giving me my time, giving me your time, and giving me your love, giving me support. I mean, I got a load of thanks to yourself and Ian Davis. Ian Davis is a dude. And the UK column. Oh, Alex Thompson has been a lifesaver. I mean, I would have been bankrupt last month if they hadn't given me they hadn't approved one of my pieces and let me write a piece for them. These guys are really important. They're really nice guys. UK column is full of like really level-headed people. There's no crazies there. So agreed, Marky W. Mark. Hey gang, right? Whoo! Face the red hat ship. Hey, love you all. So on the 2-hour mark, newspace.com, johnnyvedmore.com. Like, share, subscribe. My friends. Thank you.